I think I messed up. When I first started following the royal family, I'll admit I had a pretty simple idea of what they did. You know, the waving, the smiling, the ribbon cutting. It all seemed so straightforward, almost like a never-ending parade of ceremonies and polite applause. I thought the royal family just waved at crowds and cut ribbons. But the more I looked, the more I realized there's a whole world behind those palace gates. A world that's a lot more complicated and, honestly, a lot more human than I ever expected. Turns out their family life is a bit more tangled. Let's take a closer look at just 1 week in the life of the royal family. A week that, on the surface, might look like business as usual, but underneath is packed with shifting dynamics, personal sacrifices, and, yes, a fair bit of drama. So, picture this. King Charles is off in Germany, working the diplomatic circuit, shaking hands with world leaders, attending state dinners, and representing the crown abroad. Meanwhile, back home, his grandson Archie is born. It's a moment that should be all about family, right? But for the royals, duty often comes first. He travels nearly 600 miles just to say hello. Dedication or what? Imagine the logistics, the security, the press, the tight schedules. And yet Charles makes the journey, determined to be there for his family, even if only for a brief moment. But here's the thing. This isn't the first time royal duty has kept Charles away from big family moments. But don't think that's unusual. Charles missed the births of Prince Louis and Princess Charlotte too, all thanks to royal duty. It's almost a tradition at this point, royal obligations taking precedence over personal milestones. And while it might seem cold or distant, it's just part of the job. Still, you have to wonder what it's like for the family members left behind. The new parents, the siblings, the grandparents who can't always be there when it matters most. Even on Archie's next birthday, Charles is busy hosting a garden party, while Queen Camilla's by his side. The garden party is a classic royal event. Hundreds of guests, carefully manicured lawns, and the ever-present press. It's a chance for the royals to connect with the public, to show a more approachable side. But it also means missing out on private family celebrations. For Charles, it's a balancing act, trying to fulfill his public role while still being a present grandfather. And for Camilla, it's about supporting her husband, even when it means Famel Maldabauer Shattertulputois Kusikenderend. These are the kinds of choices that define royal life, choices that most of us never have to make, but that shape the relationships and the dynamics within the palace walls. Meanwhile, Meghan and Kate, their first meeting was wonderful. Or, a bit awkward, depending on who you ask. The relationship between Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton has been the subject of endless speculation. Were they instant friends? Polite acquaintances? Or was there tension from the very start? Some say their first meeting was warm and welcoming, full of smiles and shared excitement. Others suggest it was a little stiff, maybe even uncomfortable, as two very different women tried to find common ground in a world full of expectations. Meghan, the American actress, stepping into centuries of tradition. Kate, the future Queen consort, already well versed in royal protocol. It's no wonder their dynamic became a focal point for the media, and for royal watchers everywhere. Over time, their relationship has been scrutinized, analyzed, and at times sensationalized. Every gesture, every glance, every whispered conversation has been interpreted and reinterpreted, often with little regard for the reality behind the headlines. But at the heart of it, Meghan and Kate are just two women navigating an extraordinary set of circumstances, trying to balance their own identities with the roles they've been given and the expectations that come with them. At the end of the day, it's just another week in royal family life, packed with handshakes, headlines, and just a hint of drama. But let's not stop there, because the story of the royal family is always evolving, always shifting. And the dynamics we see today are the result of years, decades even, of tradition, change, and personal growth. Take King Charles, for example. For most of his life, he was the heir apparent, waiting in the wings, preparing for a role he knew would one day be his. That kind of pressure shapes a person. It shapes their relationships, their priorities, and the way they see the world. When Charles finally became king, it wasn't just a change in title, it was a seismic shift in the family dynamic. Suddenly he was at the centre of it all, the figurehead, the decision-maker, the one everyone looked to for guidance. And with that shift came new challenges. How do you balance the demands of the monarchy with the needs of your family? How do you honour tradition while also moving forward? For Charles, it's meant making tough choices. Sometimes that means missing out on personal moments. Other times it means finding new ways to connect with his children and grandchildren, even when duty calls. And then there's Meghan and Harry. Their decision to step back from royal duties sent shockwaves through the palace and through the public. It was a move that challenged centuries of tradition and forced the family to confront questions about identity, duty, and what it means to be royal in the modern world. For Meghan, joining the royal family was never going to be easy. The scrutiny, the expectations, the constant comparisons, it's a lot for anyone to handle. And for Harry, the desire to protect his wife and son became a driving force in their decision to carve out a new path. Their departure wasn't just about stepping away from royal duties. It was about reclaiming their own narrative and finding a way to live authentically, even if it meant leaving behind the only life Harry had ever known. The impact of their decision is still being felt today. It's changed the way the royal family operates, and it's forced everyone, inside and outside the palace, to rethink what it means to be a modern royal. And then there's the next generation. Prince William and Kate raising their children in the spotlight, trying to give them as normal a life as possible while preparing them for futures that are anything but ordinary. For William, the lessons of his own childhood, growing up in the public eye, dealing with loss and expectation, inform the way he parents. He's determined to give his children the stability and support they need, even as he prepares for his own eventual role as king. Kate, too, brings her own perspective. She's known for her hands-on approach, her focus on early childhood development, and her commitment to causes that matter to her. Together, William and Kate are redefining what it means to be a royal couple in the 21st century. But even with all these changes, some things remain the same. The sense of duty, the commitment to service, the understanding that their actions are always under the microscope. Every handshake, every smile, every decision is analysed and debated. And while the world watches, the royal family continues to navigate the delicate balance between public expectation and private reality. It's a life that comes with incredible privilege, but also incredible pressure. And for every moment of glamour, there are moments of sacrifice, missed birthdays, postponed celebrations, and the constant challenge of putting duty before self. So, the next time you see the royal family waving from a balcony, or cutting a ribbon at a new hospital, remember, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. There are real people with real relationships facing real challenges. And while the headlines might focus on the drama, the reality is often much more nuanced. The story of the royal family is one of tradition and change, of public service and personal sacrifice. It's a story that's still being written, every single day. And as we watch from afar, it's worth remembering that at the end of the day, they're a family, just like any other, with all the love, the tension, the joy, and the heartbreak that comes with it. So, what's next for the royal family? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the world will be watching every step of the way. Let's take a moment to look back. The royal family has always been a symbol of continuity, a living link to the past, even as the world changes around them. Queen Elizabeth II's reign was marked by stability and tradition. She was the anchor, the constant presence through decades of change. Her passing marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter for the family. For Charles, stepping into his mother's shoes was both an honour and a challenge. The expectations were immense, and the world was watching to see how he would lead. And for the younger generation, the transition meant new roles, new responsibilities, and new opportunities to shape the future of the monarchy. Meghan and Harry's decision to step back was just one example of how the family is adapting to the times. It's a reminder that even the most established institutions must evolve if they want to stay relevant. And as the family continues to grow and change, so too does the public's relationship with them. Social media, 24-hour news cycles, and a global audience mean that every move is scrutinized like never before. But through it all, the royal family endures. They adapt, they adjust, and they find ways to connect with new generations. Whether it's through charity work, public appearances, or simply sharing glimpses of their lives, the royals remain a source of fascination and inspiration for millions around the world. And while the headlines may focus on the scandals and the drama, the real story is one of resilience, adaptation, and the enduring power of family. So, as we wrap up this look at the shifting palace dynamics, let's remember that the royal family is more than just a collection of titles and traditions. They're individuals, each with their own hopes, dreams, and challenges. And while their lives may be lived on a grand stage, the emotions and experiences they share are universal. From the joy of a new birth to the pain of separation, from the excitement of public service to the weight of expectation, the royal family's story is, in many ways, a reflection of our own. And as they continue to navigate the complexities of modern life, they remind us that even the most iconic families are, at their core, just that, a family. So the next time you see a royal headline or catch a glimpse of a palace event, take a moment to look beyond the surface. There's always more to the story. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, we'll find a little bit of ourselves in their journey. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the royal family's world. Until next time, keep looking beyond the headlines. And remember, every family has its own story.